Hello, my name is Michael Wildenstein. Been a farrier for 50 years this year. Looking forward to talking to you and showing you some design patterns that I use for conformational deviations in a horse and possibly pathologies or old injuries. I'm using a Kahn Kegger, which is a symmetrical shoe so that I can make lots of modifications. It's a 3/8 inch thick shoe, which is an advantage if you need to make modifications because you get more mechanics out of a thicker shoe. And so this is a little heavier shoe. It's a size 2 shoe. I'll start out with just some basic modifications that I use on a regular basis. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to have a look and see what we're doing. I'm going to work on the heel of the shoe, and the heels are often displaced. They're either pushed up, pushed in, or pushed forward, and on some horses it might be all of the above. When I'm looking at a horse's conformation, I'll watch how the ergot falls. Well, the opposite limb is picked up, the one you're looking at, stand directly behind it, and watch where the ergot falls. As a guideline, the heel that is under the side where the ergot falls is going to be the most compromised, either pushed up, pushed forward, pushed in, or all of the above, maybe even pushed out. And so the first modification I'm going to make is for a heel that is pushed forward and pushed in. That compressed heel, when it's pushed in, that compressed heel is most susceptible to side bone. So we're going to put kind of a modified shoe on there that you might do for side bone afterwards. Let's take some of the stress off it before the horse gets the issue. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just amplify the check in that corner. The heel modification will just give me slightly more material to get more mechanics out of that modification. I'll offset that shoe. I'm going to put the toe on there, the heel on here, push down on this. As I pick it up, I'm going to give it a little tap there. And I just twist it over where I can get into it. Tongue reins are going to go up. Shoe is flat on the anvil. I'm going to do some brushing strokes. Inside, the current trend for a check is 3/4 to the inside, right there. Bring it over here. Give it a couple glancing blows. And then bump in when it hits the anvil. And get 1/4. So just modify that check slightly. I'll flatten the shoe out again because I'm going to put a check in there, or a crease in there. And when you're creasing, it's going to be easier if that shoe is flat, meaning the shoe isn't going to bounce so much. And for this modification, I'm going to start on the outside of the factory crease. Give it a tap, and all I'm doing right now is making a trail. So outside of the factory crease, because this heel is pushed in and pushed forward. And then here I'm going to do a full stop. I'm going to drop that in and hit it. I'll cool the creaser in wax or oil, and now I can amplify that. That crease is going to expand in the direction you tip the head. So I want to get more width out of that creaser. I'm going to tip the head slightly to the outside. And then I'm going to knock down the outside of that shoe, or put a bevel in it. And this is going to increase with the web too. And that bevel is going to go from the outside of the crease. Knock that off. And this will go forward to the point of the heel quarter bend, wherever that is. Wherever your heel quarter bend is, that's where we're going to run that bevel to. And as this foot comes into the ground, it's going to allow it to slide in. And eye perimeter fit. That's what's worked for me in my business and in my part of the world. So just to knock it off to the outside, just a roll there. Increase with the web, slightly larger than the other side. And it goes to the heel quarter bend. I'm going to make another modification to the heel of the shoe. Again, I'm going to offset the shoe, bring it up, give it a tap. I'm going to change that check slightly, a couple brush strokes down here till the shoe hits flat on the anvil. Then I'm going to bump into it. I'm going to roll it over, come down here, a couple brush strokes, bump into it. I want it about 2/3 on the inside, 1/3 on the outside of that check. I'm going to flatten that out because I'm going to run a crease in there. I got that heel pushed in pretty good. I'm going to open that up right here. And then I can run the crease in there. The ear guard is falling over this side of the hoof, so this heel is compromised. Mostly not as full as I'd like it, so I'm going to make it a little fuller. I'll run my creaser or fuller on the inside of the factory crease. And at this point, I'm going to go to the middle of the check. All I'm doing right now is making a trail. I'll heat that up again. I've made a trail in there for my crease. When I'm putting a creaser in, I'm going to feather it in. That's all a matter of style. And I have that trail so I can take little bites, and I'm going to lift, slide, set down, hit, lift, slide, set down, hit, full stop. And then I can just tidy that up with some lighter taps. And I'm going to tip the creaser to the outside of the shoe. That creaser is going to displace the material in the direction you tip the head. I could also tip it in to push it inward. I do want some more material to the inside, and when I'm doing that, I can run the round side of the hammer on the inside of the shoe, and I'm going to walk back to the inside corner of the heel check. I'm going to park there for a second, or 2 or 3, walk out, walk back in, park there, and then I'll use the flat side to smooth that up some right back here. And so you can see that there's quite a bit of extra width of web. If that heel is pushed in at all, I will also knock off the outside edge from the point where the heel quarter bend is back. This just eases the landing. It changes the posture of the horse in a deformable surface to help spread that out so that foot isn't going quite so far under the body. Say we have a inside medial heel that's pushed up. That usually happens during load bearing. I'm going to narrow that up so in a deformable surface that will sink in further. I'll come up on the horn and I'll start compressing it, and as I compress it or narrow it out, I'm coming off of the horn and going into the taper of that horn and then walking over the edge here. And in doing, I'm putting a check in, and I'm also reducing width of web. I'll flatten it out and give it the same thickness. I'll go back through. While I'm here, I'm going to shape it some more. And remember to go into the taper of the anvil. And so I've tapered that out. And if I need to, I can grind or hammer more taper in there. I don't want to expand the metal, so I'm more likely to grind it. Now this heel is so far in, it's too much. I'm going to put a heel check in, or I'm going to put a quarter bend in there. I want to bring this out. I'm going to put the shoe up here, cross tongue it to the toe. The point that I want to come out is where I put it on the horn. Where I want it to come out from, I'm going to brush stroke down. Tongue reins up towards myself. And I can bring that out. I'll flatten it out. And that could use some more. I can also go in this direction. Remember which way the force is going to go into your tongue reins. I don't want to be gripping that hard all the time. Just let that drop, bring that out more. A little more. And bring in that inside heel. There's room for improvement on that one. On this shoe, I'm going to reduce the width of web on the inside heel, but not all the way to the end. I'm going to stop compressing about 3/4 of an inch in. I'll round up those edges to that point, to that point. And this is for a horse that's in a very deformable surface that I want some reduction in that medial heel because it's proximally shunted or pushed vertically, pushed up. But I want it so it doesn't sink indefinitely. I want some form of stop, so I'm leaving a small tab on there. Clean that up. And then I'll push some material out to the inside. I'm going to push that towards the ground surface. Let's fix up the inside check a little more. And flatten that shoe out. And so on the shoe, I've reduced the width of web medially. That'll sink some more into the ground for a vertically displaced quarter. And on this shoe, the outside heel is increased width of web. So 2 modifications in that shoe. The outside heel is pushed forward, pushed in, and so I added some width of web so that when it's on the ground, that side isn't going to sink into the deformable surface. This side, the medial side, inside, will sink in more. I'm going to increase the width on the whole lateral branch of the shoe for a horse that has a strong fetlock varus, or it goes in from the fetlock. The horse's hoof is wearing very hard on the outside. The posture of the horse is very base narrow at the point of landing, so we get a lot of wear on the outside. I've changed the check slightly. I'll start near the inside width of web with a creaser, and all I'm doing right now is making a trail. Keep it to the inside. I want to display some material towards the inside of the shoe. These nail holes are beautifully made. The crease is solid. I don't want to be destroying that, so I'm going to go close to the inside with the web, and then when I get towards the heel or after the factory crease, I'm going to head towards the center of the check. And while I'm doing this, my shoe gets unlevel, and I'll set that down for a full stop. I'll put another heat on it, and I'll amplify that crease by going somewhat deeper and tipping the creaser slightly towards the inside. I'm amplifying this crease, making it somewhat deeper. I'm going to feather it as I start, Lift, slide, sit down, hit. And I'm tipping the creaser towards the inside width of web to displace that material there. On a horse that is very lightweight, very finely built, you want to be very careful with your modifications. A big, thick, heavily muscled horse, you can do more. A horse that's going very fast, you want to be very conservative. A horse that works slowly, you can do a little more. I'll add some more width by walking around the inside width of web here, knocking that down. When I get back by the check, I'm going to park there. I'm going to walk back out. I have my anvil set in lead. There's a lead sheet underneath my anvil to quiet that down. Now, when I want to modify this heel, the shape of it, I want to be careful not to crush that crease that I've made. When I pick it up and put it on the horn, I want to put a stronger heel quarter bend in that. My tongue reins will go up. And I'm going to tip the shoe slightly and brush that shoe down to give that a stronger heel quarter bend without destroying the crease. And we'll level it out and smooth up our modification here. And for a horse that has a strong fetlock varus, wearing hard on the outside, we're trying to move the posture laterally or towards the outside slightly and change the mechanics or the ground reaction forces in a deformable surface as that horse is weight bearing.